All right, it's 12:03, and I think it's a good time to get started, and then we'll welcome everybody as they begin to jump in. I know that we have stop at 12:45, so I promise not to go too far beyond that in our presentation. So usually what I want to do is I like to spend a good 30 minutes or so, not a very long presentation, so I don't bore you for too long. And then after that, I really want to open it up to questions to the group that you may have and have a quick discussion. So first of all, I'll start out by introducing myself. My name is Jason Barquero. I am the director of the Robert G. Freeman Center for Career and Completion. What does that mean? We're the Career Center. So we do career services, career counseling, career advising. We work with employers in the community and organizations in the Southern California area that want to hire you all, that want to hire our students either for part-time jobs, full-time jobs, and internships especially as well, or any other work-based learning opportunities. So that is the quick version of what we do. We do a heck of a lot more, but today it's not about the Freeman Center. It's about this topic, which I've titled Doing Well by Doing Good. And so when we were graciously asked by our friends here on campus to present, I know some of my colleagues are presenting as well on other topics regarding social justice for this conference. I thought, well, what can we do a little bit that's different and that would help some of you all? I know we have a lot of first-year students on here, as well as returning students who wanted to be a part of this conference. So this notion of doing well in your career by doing good is something that personally I've always been very interested in and passionate about, because we get questions oftentimes from many students and alumni and people that we work with at the Career Center about the possibility of, can you do well in your own career at the same time while you're doing good in the community? And so today, what we're going to be covering, and let me there we go. Go to the first slide here. And I apologize if I ever appear like I'm distracted for a sec, but I know we're also admitting folks and as well checking the chat here from time to time. So I thank you for your patience. So here's what's on tap for today. We're really going to cover three things. I like to keep it simple. And so the first thing we're going to cover is, what does it really mean to do well by doing good? So we'll break down the definition a little bit of what those two things are. For many of you, you probably already understand what that is. For some of you, maybe it's a newer concept. So we'll go through that a little bit and what that means. And then we'll move into, how can I do good in the workplace? So many of you, I know, because we've talked to a lot of students in the past, have said, look, hey, I'm going to go to this new opportunity. I'm accepted a new internship or a new full-time job, but I want this to be a place where I can do good. And so we'll talk about those differences of finding not only a nonprofit organization where you can work at and do good, but for many of you who are interested in working in private industry, how can you do good in those private industry workspaces? So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then finally, we'll move into how can I find meaningful work to do good in, right? So I'll show you a little bit. What I'll do is I'll take you away from my PowerPoint here, and then what we'll do is I'll share my screen and show you a couple of resources that'll help you on how you can find meaningful work in doing good, the types of jobs that are out there, the types of opportunities are out there for folks specifically who want to have a meaning in their jobs from day to day. So we'll explore all that. If there's anything I don't cover or something you have questions on at any point, then what we'll do is somewhere towards the end, we'll open it up, and please do ask and jump in. So with that, I guess we'll get started. So I like to start with definitions. I think it's a great way to start, and a couple of quotes that I found online as I was preparing for this, defining doing well by doing good. One of the more used definitions out there that you'll find, one that has been attributed to Ben Franklin, is, quote, to achieve social acceptance or financial success as a result of behaving in a benevolent or charitable manner. Highlighting to achieve social acceptance or financial success. So what does that really mean? Well, if you're doing well by doing good, then it's really what this quote is saying is, well, I am socially, by the constructs here that we work with, I have found an opportunity in my career that's acceptable at the same time where I feel well financially, right, where I'm being taken care of financially, or in my career at the same time by working in a way that's being charitable. And by charitable, we just don't mean obviously by writing a check to a charity or anything like that, although that could be part of it if you have the means. But I think for most of us, that means is, how are we giving up our time, right? How are we being philanthropic in our way, in our work, in our day-to-day work? So I thought that was a meaningful quote. The last one I'll share here is, and this is actually my favorite, from an article from Anand Sampat, an article titled Introducing Doing Well by Doing Good. He said, we are doing good when we are helping others, We're doing well when we are helping ourselves. And I think that makes total sense. And I love that, right? We're doing good when we're helping other people, but we're doing personally well when we're helping ourselves. And I think that sets up today's conversation and really sets up that thought of, I hope that when you all walk away today, since we're not going to solve everything today in the next 30 to 40 minutes, but walk away with some thoughts and some plans maybe that you may have, that you could always come back to the Freeman Center and we can draw out that plan and help you with that on how you can draw out a life where you're helping others. And at the same time, personally for you and your family and your loved ones, that you're doing well as well. So as we break that down a little bit further, what does that mean, right? What does it mean to do well? What is the difference between do well and do good? At least the way that society has kind of defined it, right? We can kind of debate and talk back and forth about what that means for each of us. But at least the most common way when someone says, hey, is that person doing well in our society? Well, here's kind of some examples of some things, right? One is, do you have your basic necessities, right? Having your basic necessities of shelter and food and the things that those of us need. We've taken a psychology course in the past, and you've learned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And as you meet those needs, those at the bottom really of that is those basic necessities. And do you have those things? And that alone will tell you you're doing better than probably most people out there. And kind of as you move through that line, is some people define that as academic success, right? Is I'm doing well because I'm doing well in my courses and I'm getting the grades that I need to get. I'm earning the certificate perhaps that I need to earn, or I'm taking the classes and successfully completing those in what I need to do. My goal was to transfer and now I'm going to transfer, or my goal was to earn a 2-year or 4-year degree or a master's degree, and you've earned that. Whatever that means to you personally and for your career plan, but that's an example of doing well, right? Achieving career success, whatever that is to you, right? In terms of the type of job, the type of opportunity you're seeking, and what you want to do as you continue to grow, that's a sign of that you're doing well. This one's one of my favorite, loving what you do. And I think that's one of the more meaningful ones on here. If you truly can walk away and go to bed at night or wake up in the morning and say that you really love what you do, in my opinion, I think you're doing very well. Owning tangible things, right? Now we kind of get into more of the, into some of those other items that may be a little bit more selfish, so to speak, and with some folks value, right? When you start talking about money and things like that, which is perfectly okay. Some folks value tangible things, right? You want to own certain things, having a certain vehicle or having a certain, or just owning a home or having those kinds of things. That may be an example of how you're doing well for some of you. Financial security, that's important to all of us, right? We all have different levels of what type of financial security that means. And those are the kinds of things that are important. And those are the kinds of questions and exercises you want to have with people that you trust, with a career advisor, someone at PCC at the Freeman Center, to talk about what are those things that you value and how is that going to align with the type of work that you're looking to do. And finally, I say make a profit. And I put that on there because I found that in a lot of the research, especially for those of you that are entrepreneurs or are striving to become an entrepreneur, maybe own your own business at some point. You definitely want to own it. If you're going to own a business, a priority of yours will be to make sure that you're profitable, right? That you're making money so that you can sustain the way of life that you want to sustain for you and your family. And so those things are very, very important, obviously. So these are all some basic kind of, signs of how do you do and how we define if someone is doing well in society. Lastly, in terms of definitions, we move into what does it mean to do good, right? And so, this is kind of really the meat and potatoes of what this week is about also, right? With things that are going on in our society, and those of us that are here probably very passionate about pursuing social advocacy work or social justice work in what we do every day. I think the first thing to know is you're doing good if you're helping to lift other people in whatever role that you're in, whether you are volunteering or if you're an intern or if you're well into your career or if you're a manager or a supervisor. At some point, we could all be helping other folks lift them up to where we're at and beyond, right? Becoming a mentor. And so some of these things here at any point in time, when we talk to alumni, and by alumni, we mean anyone that's moved on from PCC and graduated or moved on from school, that makes you an alum. And we often reach out to alums and say, have you thought about becoming a mentor, right? Mentoring another student, mentoring another colleague. It could be someone that maybe is a little bit less inexperienced than you, or they're looking to make a change in a career, or you might have something in common that they're interested in. Anyone on here could at any time become a mentor for someone else, even in the workspace. Getting involved in your community within the workspace or outside the workspace means that you're doing good. Giving your time, right? Giving up your time in a variety of ways. Starting a cause, right? Some of you are in a philanthropic way. You're thinking, I would love to start my own nonprofit and start my own non-cause. Obviously, that's a way of doing good. Speaking up. I put speaking up on there because sometimes that's the best place to just start. A lot of us are afraid just to speak up in whatever space that we're in, whether it's at school or whether it's at work, to really start getting others involved in doing good. Sometimes it just starts with raising your hand and speaking up to start something in your space. And the last one I throw on here is give money. And why is that? There's some folks that are in a position that are very fortunate. That may not be most of us, but there are some people that are in a position that are very fortunate and that have the means, right, to be able to give something back to a scholarship organization, to their college or to their church or to any charitable organization that you may be proud of and you may be a part of or are really passionate about. And that's always a great way to help folks, to lift them up and provide them an opportunity that maybe some other folks just can't afford. So these are examples of the doing good and then of course doing well and those two things. So now moving on. So now that we kind of defined that a little bit, when we talk about, so how do you do good in the workplace, which is really getting into what I wanted to talk about today. What are those ways that you can do good in the workplace? And I think why this is important is when I've met with students or met with folks that come to the Career Center, there's this notion of, well, I have to work for a nonprofit in order for me to be doing good in my day-to-day. And you can do very well. But we get the question, can I still pursue a job in finance? Can I pursue a job or start my own business? Can I start a restaurant? Can I get into banking? Can I work in marketing or design and still do good in the space that I am? And the answer is absolutely yes. We all can, no matter what we do, including myself working in higher education. The second question a lot of folks ask is, what if I want to work for a private company? Well, I'll give you an example. And how to do that. If you're going to work for a private organization and you're thinking, I want to work for a private organization, but I want to make sure I'm doing good. The first thing I would recommend, the first step is find an organization that is doing good. Google is your best friend, as you hear all the time. And I've always advised students, if that is something that's important to you, whether you've been called for an interview or whether you're at the stage where you're looking for an internship or a job and doing your research, there are ways. Forbes has a wonderful list online where you can find Fortune 500 companies, if that is your goal, or different organizations that are doing good and ways for you to get involved. That way, before you apply for certain jobs or before you go into an interview, you can find out more about that organization and see if they're really active in the community, if that's something that's important to you. Because this will also advise you in terms of the kinds of questions you could ask when you do meet folks at an organization or during an interview. It's a great question to ask to see what is the corporate culture? What is the culture of your organization? And can they provide you some examples of how they're impacting the community? So to give you an example of that, I took Bank of America here. I was going through this as an example. B of A in 2018 logged in about 2 million volunteer hours worldwide. So they're employees. And when we mean employees, we mean every employee. 2 million hours of volunteer hours. And so they were named one of the top private companies in our country that is giving back and encouraging their employees to give back. And what I love about that, as you can see in the second bullet point, is that employees can take up to 2 hours of weekly paid volunteer time. So 2 hours of their week, which I guess comes, if you do a 40-hour work week, that's about 5% of your week, can be for volunteer if you'd like, and it is paid by Bank of America. So that is an example of how a company is not just talking at the talk, but they're encouraging their employees to go out there and be a part of any type of organization and be a part of any movement and volunteer their time and give back. 26% of their employees volunteer their time. So obviously this is something that about a quarter of their employees are completely all in about giving up their time to the community. This is a really neat thing. As we talk about money, what Bank of America does is if you want to make a donation to any charitable contribution, any charitable organization, Bank of America will match that. They will match up to $5,000. So if you decided I'm going to give $300 to this organization, Bank of America will give another $300 with you as well, making it $600. So they will match up to $5,000 of their employees' contributions, which I think is amazing. And as I was reading about Bank of America and what they do, there was a wonderful example of employees and how they've gotten creative and said, okay, if I'm in banking and I know a little bit about financial literacy, what can I do in the community? Well, the most obvious thing is offer financial literacy courses to the community for free. And there were examples of a lot of their employees, not pushed by B of A, but they themselves said, you know what, here's some knowledge that I have. I can do some free webinars. I can do a financial literacy course, at my church, at a local nonprofit, for a group of friends. I can go to a college. I can go in the community and help folks maybe that don't have the means or haven't had the background perhaps or the education to really educate themselves on financial literacy. And so that was a wonderful example, I thought, of people in a private sector doing well, but also doing good for their community in a very creative way, utilizing their skill set, right? Something that they know that's very, very close to them. Going back here, let's see. So step 2, as you move on to that, and I'll show another example as I go through here as well. Find out how to make a difference. So when you get to a workplace, let's assume you got the job, you get there, right? And as you arrive, you decide, okay, well, is there a way that I can get involved? How can I get involved? And so I'll use another example here. I don't know how many of you enjoy sports or like sports or perhaps maybe plan on working in sports someday. I know I certainly do, so I chose the Lakers here as an example of that. And what I wanted to show you is how even organizations, sports organizations, any kind of private organization, because they are a private company, are in meaningful ways at making an impact. And I'm going to move through here a little bit. I hope you all can still see this. And when I went to their website, right, they have a community page. And this is an example of all the different things that they're doing and all the different programs that within the organization, like a basketball team, are doing to make sure that they're doing good in the community. Why should this matter to you? Well, let's assume you are employed at one of these organizations. You're working at the Lakers, whether it's in marketing or accounting or anything that you do. Maybe you're a physical therapist with the organization. These are all programs that are open to all employees at the organization. So when you choose on this one that says Lakers Team Up, if I'm a new employee, I might look at this and say, well, let me see how I can get involved. These are all ways that their staff, their employees are getting involved throughout the year, whether it's for MLK Day, for the holidays, things that employees are doing around in the community. These are all staff. 95% of these are not athletes, although the athletes do get involved. These are part-time workers, full-time workers, just like you and I, that are out in the community doing different things. So I show you this to, not to say, hey, go work for the Lakers, but to encourage you and to know that at just about at any organization in the private sector that you may find an opportunity with, there are opportunities such as these for you to get involved and do things and volunteer, while you're also doing well, right? While you're also doing well for yourself, but you're also getting involved in your own company, your own organization, and doing good for the community. So I thought it was important that I share that as an illustration and how you can, when you get involved, ask what's there for you. So that way you're also maintaining a happier lifestyle while you're working as well. All right, so I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint here. Finally, one other step here is if you don't find let's say you get into an organization and you don't find what you're looking for, offer ideas productively, right? And a lot of there's a good amount of organizations, let's be honest, that perhaps are not where they need to be in terms of making sure that they're doing good in the community. And they're looking for champions. And so I always tell folks not to shy away from being that champion or forming a group of champions within your organization, to raise your hand and say, hey, could we do some of these things that I know that at other organizations or at other businesses that they're doing to do well in the community as well. And just some examples of what you can do is, one thing that we found that is happening quite a bit in higher education, but also happening in the private sector, is a lot of employees are hosting listening sessions or facilitated conversations at work. And that oftentimes should come from us. It should come from the employee. We don't necessarily have to wait for a human resources department or an executive department, an organization to come up with these things. We can work with them together, right? We can work with them hand in hand. We can work with our colleagues and host these kinds of sessions, and especially in these times to say, hey, I think a conversation around these topics would be great in the workplace. A lot of folks maybe are having water cooler talk about something, but we'd like to bring it up to the front so it doesn't just stay at the water cooler, as they say, but we're also talking about it candidly as a group. And I think offering the opportunity to host that yourself, an alliance with your organization and where you're working at, is a great idea. I know some employees that have actually surveyed fellow coworkers and supplied data. So they've decided, you know what, I'm going to take a quick poll. Maybe I'm going to send something out, or maybe I'm going to anecdotally just talk to a lot of employees and put some data together. I know companies and organizations love data. They love information, because then you have something more concrete to go to your organization and say, you know, I talked to 7 or 8 or 10 people, or I sent a quick little survey to 20 people here, and here's what they're saying, right? Here, they would love to do these things. Because now that gives you some information and some data to go to managers, to go to your organization, to go to people that are making some decisions, to show them, hey, there's actually a need for something at this organization, and here's some data to back it up. You can start a club at work. A lot of folks start clubs. I know something that we've begun to do here at the PCC, some of you may know, most of you may not know, is that the entire management team, anyone that is a manager, up to the president's office all the way, myself included, we're part of a reading club. And it's something that we just started about a month ago. And the reading club really was to talk about, it really was inspired from the Black Lives Matter movement. And it's part of our charge as a college about one of the series of many things that we're going to do to inform ourselves and to educate ourselves. And so we chose a book. We were kind of put together in different groups, and now we're part of a book club, and we're having some very honest and open discussions here at the college. So that's one example of what organizations do also to get their folks connected. Seeking out sponsorship from your employers, another example as well, is a lot of us may find an opportunity in the community where perhaps there's an opportunity for you to do some good, but perhaps you're seeking sponsorship. And there's a lot of companies and organizations out there that would be happy to sponsor you or a group of people, as perhaps you're getting involved in some kind of a run or some kind of a charitable activity in the community. There's nothing wrong with speaking to management and talking to human resources or your departments about that opportunity. There's money there sometimes. You'd be surprised to help out for these types of causes. Offer to partner with a local charitable organization is a way for you also to get involved, and even leading a group of volunteers at work that you may find, right? You may find yourself in a position where you would say, hey, I'm going to grab a group of volunteers, and we're just going to go ahead and volunteer, maybe with, you know, Habitat for the Humanity or an organization offsite. So it doesn't have to be something necessarily official that the company has yet, backed quite yet. But maybe you and a group of friends and colleagues at work decided, you know, we're going to start this thing and see if there's some momentum if we lead a group here to volunteer, and then perhaps it turns into something that the organization would be willing to back up down the road. So finally, we're going to talk a little bit about how can I find meaningful work to do good in, right? So we talked about, okay, maybe in my current job or in a private sector job or any organization, examples of ways that you can get involved within an organization and do good there. But what if your intent is, hey, I really want my job, that full-time job or that career goal is to find meaningful work in those spaces, it actually to work in a space of social justice or advocacy where you're leading the charge there. And so I'm going to minimize this again here because I wanted to step away and go back to, oops, no, that's the link there here. So a wonderful resource that I found online here at this website, it's called Affordable Colleges Online. But what I really wanted to bring your attention to are these 6 pillars right here. And I thought this was really neat. And I would honestly take that hyperlink and use this. And I'll probably incorporate this going forward. But what I love about this is that they've been able to separate 6 different ways for your career in order to be involved if you want to fight inequality. Right. And most of what we're talking about when we want to get out in the community and do good, it's because we're trying to fight some type of inequality in a lot of different spaces. And so what I love about this is, how is it that you want to fight inequality? Well, if you said, well, I want to provide immediate support right here. Well, here are some examples, right? Examples of different jobs, job titles, and things that you can do if you're still thinking about your career and what types of careers, from social worker to counselor, becoming maybe a human services professional, becoming an interpreter or a translator perhaps, and even a correctional officer. So it gives you some examples of how you can get involved in the type of jobs if you want to provide that immediate support in your career. Perhaps you want to do it through education. And for those of you that are looking at higher ed or K through 12 education as a future career goal, you know, here's some ways. Obviously, becoming a teacher, a health educator, even a school psychologist are ways that you can be involved in your career and pick any one of these types of career trajectories and still be able to fight inequalities. Another one of the pillars you saw there was maybe through changing policy. So some of you may be law school bound and are thinking of getting into policy or social advocacy or law work. Well, obviously a politician and getting involved with local politics is always a way for you to be involved and to make it, have an impact. Becoming a grant writer, believe it or not, is also an example. Those of you who are great writers and perhaps you're an English major, I know that our school and any school or any nonprofit organization always has a grant writer on site, or we go out and we seek out grant writers to help us with quite honestly, the thousands and sometimes millions of dollars that we get in funding to help us shorten the gap in these inequalities. So learning how to write grants is an incredible skill, and it's a skill that can really lead the way and provide that sense of doing well by really putting your skill set out there and really putting money into people's pockets that could make a difference. And civil rights attorney and a public defender, those are great careers as well. Spreading the word. Some of you maybe are more on the maybe on the journalistic side, or maybe you're thinking of a place where, hey, I want to get out there and I'm kind of a marketer. I'm someone that likes to document and likes to maybe you're a visual designer or someone that is very involved in communications. Well, even as a communications major, there's ways of that as a journalist, as a photographer, a videographer, a filmmaker, right? Or as an activist, where if you're on that side of communication and art, these are examples of ways that you can get involved in fighting inequality in your career. And these could be career paths that you may enjoy. Almost done. Informing policy and the public, yes, even as an economist or a sociologist, statistician, political scientist, right? These are all examples of ways that you can contribute. For instance, even as a statistician, right? We need data. And those of us that love data and love information, this is a great opportunity for you to be at the forefront of how can I provide the data to organizations and people of influence that they need in order to attain the kind of outcomes that they want to achieve with grants or different programs they may have. Perhaps you're into career and you want to help people improve their own career prospects. And that's a way that you want to help really close in that inequality gap. I know that's what we do. That's what we do at the Freeman Center. And that's really what we're doing this week as educators, right? As career counselors, as CTE teachers, as adult literacy, high school equivalency professor, a human resources manager, a specialist. These are all ways that through someone that wants to get involved in helping others shape their career, that you can fight inequality. So I really wanted to show you that because I thought that was a productive site for you if you're kind of looking for the types of jobs and careers that perhaps you can get involved with that have a social justice angle. And if that's something that you want to talk through, we could always sit down and at length at the Freeman Center and go through these. In terms of jobs, one of my favorite websites that I wanted to show you here is Idealist. I don't know how many of you have used Idealist in the past, but if you are looking for nonprofit work and you're looking for work doing good, quite frankly, Idealist is probably still one of the best online resources out there for finding work. This is a pretty easy website to use. Some of you may have used it in the past, and earlier I had just typed in here social justice in Los Angeles and popped up, anything from managing attorney, paralegal work with Immigrant Defenders Law Center. So as you can scroll down here, you see the different types of jobs and opportunities out there to do well, to do good, I should say, and at the same time doing well with a lot of these organizations. LinkedIn is a great resource, and I wanted to share also some of the jobs out there. I've run into a lot of students who have said, I really want my job to be directly in a position where I'm directly influencing and impacting programs and policy and perhaps the different things going on. And I just got a message that I think someone said you're not able to see this my screen. I'll do this again. Can you see the Idealist page here? Just want to make sure if someone could do me the favor and say no if they can't see it, or yes if they can. No, you cannot. Okay. So let me, you can still hear me though, correct? Okay, so let me stop sharing briefly. And what I'll do is I'll share once again, and hopefully that will get me to, all right. So can you see the Idealist page now? I appreciate you guys, by the way. Good. All right. Were you able to see the page I was talking about with the different pillars and the different careers? I'm hoping. let me go back to that page in case you were not able, if you were stuck that, because I think that was really, really important. So let me go back to that. So I apologize for that. We'll go here. We'll fix that. We have some time anyways. I don't have a lot of slides after this. So let me share this. Okay. Can you see this now? It says career ideas for fighting inequality. Yes. Okay, good. I'm very sorry. I was talking through this and this. I won't talk through it all over again. I promise. What I'll do is I'll just scroll down. And this is what I was referring to. So affordablecollegeonline.org at the top. I love this page. And so this is what I was talking about, these 6 colorful pillars. You know, if you're looking at a degree of changing policy and interpreting the law, if you click on that, this is what I was reading. I was literally going through this and the different jobs that you can perform while working in social justice and social advocacy. It's a wonderful, wonderful resource, I thought, whether you're someone interested in working in education, whether you're thinking of working in law or policy work, or here where it says spreading the word. Also, that's a great way if you're interested in careers in communication, like a journalist or a videographer or something like that, and yet how you can do those types of things and still be involved in social advocacy work. I really enjoy this resource. So this is what I was talking through. So I'm glad everyone can see this here. And so what I'll do, I'll switch to the next page. Let me just stop sharing. I apologize if that's annoying. And then I'll go to the idealist page that I was talking about. And you guys hopefully can see this, right? The idealist page that I have up here now. And so this is the page with all the different jobs. Yes, thank you. And so this is what I was talking about. Idealist.org is still probably one of the best pages for looking for work in nonprofits or social advocacy or social justice. And all I did was typed in social justice Los Angeles. And as you scroll down, you can see the different types of work. So here's an example, right? If you really love communications and marketing, here's an organization, moveon.org, which is huge, but they're looking for a chief communications officer that I can guarantee you is someone that would be doing very well in an organization while they're doing good. And so you go down through these here, city year, you know, looking for someone to do fundraising, grant writing, right? These are all organizations you may have heard of in the past. And this is just one sample of it. So I highly recommend spending some time on this page to look through the different types of jobs. And then if you get stuck and you're not navigating this correctly, or you feel you have some more questions, that's what we're here for at the Friedman Center. We can definitely sit down with you, walk you through this, go through this. As you click on these job descriptions, you may think, hey, how can I build a resume, right? It's a whole nother workshop. How can I build a resume and prepare for a possible career or an interview in these types of jobs? That's not to mention that there aren't internships as well within these organizations. So that's another discussion. I wanted to show you the one last page I wanted to go to was LinkedIn. So I'm going to stop sharing so I can go to the other page here since I know that works. I apologize. I didn't do this correctly earlier. And let me go here. And I'm going to rely on the same person that's been helping me out. I'm guessing you can see this LinkedIn page here. Yes. And so LinkedIn is also a great resource for finding jobs in advocacy. And what I did here, thank you for verifying that. And really what I typed in here at the top was social justice. And I just left it open to the United States, but I think it also goes by maybe where I live. But here is a list to the left, as you can see, as opportunities. Diversity of equity and inclusion trainer at UC Berkeley, director of social impact, as you can see, at an organization. And you go through these. This is pretty fun. I thought we're talking about basketball, the NBA. So for those of you that love sports, they're looking for an executive director of their NBA foundation. And as you know, the NBA has just committed to giving all 30 teams $300 million over 10 years to Black Lives Matter related content and also the movement. And I think each team is given about $1 million over the next 10 years. So I'm sure this has a lot to do with that and why they're looking for someone here to help manage that. And so it's really a neat example of all the different types of jobs and roles and different organizations that are seeking now. And you're seeing this pop up more and more, by the way. I've noticed this here in 2020, that a lot of private institutions are looking for people with that skill set and that passion to lead that charge within their private companies. Okay. So what I'll do, I stop sharing there and I will go back to our slide presentation here. And before we go to questions here in just a few moments, All right, so I'm back to the slide presentation here. Last thing I wanted to say is come see us. Definitely come see us virtually. And what I mean by come see us at the Freeman Center. Again, this is just kind of a teaser to get the conversation going, right? For you guys to get some ideas about, gosh, there's a lot of opportunities for me to do a lot of great work out there. How do I sort this out? We don't expect you to sort it out on your own. We definitely want you to come and see us so we can help you sort through it and help you have those great conversations about your skill set and how that skill set can make an impact. One way to do it, you can hit me up directly. I have no problem doing that. Jay Barquero, there's the email address at pasadena.edu. Always happy to talk to students. I'm obviously not the only one at the Freeman Center. There's a ton of us, and I'll show you in a sec how you can connect with all of us there. But if you have a question for me, I'm always happy to meet with students individually. Just shoot me a quick email. Happy to get your feedback or questions or anything I might have left unanswered. The other thing I want to say is to follow us on Instagram. I am letting you know that we have an opportunity drawing for a $100 gift card through September and October. If you follow us on Instagram, there it is, PCC Freeman Career. Anyone that starts to follow us this month or next month, you will be entered into a drawing for that opportunity. All you got to do is follow us. You don't have to tag anyone. You don't have to do anything else. Just go on there and follow us, and we'll know who followed us this month and next month, and you could be entered into that drawing. That's at PCC Freeman Career. And the other thing I will say here is, before we go into questions, which we have a few minutes for, is I am going to copy and paste into the chat. Whoop, what did I do here? Let me stop sharing for a second, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put into the chat, there is a link that I know that the organizers of this conference, as I'm sure you're already used to, want you to take a survey. And so I'm having problems putting it into the chat, but I'll find it here in a sec and I'll put it into the chat for you all to take it. In the meantime, we have about 5 minutes and beyond. If there's nothing going on at 12:45, I'm free to take on questions or anything you have in mind of the group. So feel free to jump in. Thank you. Someone went and put in the drawing. So if you look at the chat, everyone can please open your chat. We really, really ask you to please take this short anonymous survey so we don't know who you are, and you will be entered into another opportunity drawing that we're doing just for this conference for this week. And this is really to get your attendance, make sure that you're here, and also to get your feedback of what you thought of this presentation. So you'll see it in your chat now. Happy to take any questions. Any questions or suggestions or anything that you may have of anything that we talked about today that you may want to open up to the group? Feel free to go ahead and just unmute. I think you can unmute yourselves, can you? And if not, I think we can do that. Just put it in the chat and we can read that for you. Someone here is asking, why can't there be recruiters linked directly to students? Could you, I think I understand, but could you clarify a little bit about what you mean by that question? Why can't there be recruiters linked directly to students? Yeah, so the companies do have recruiters, and if I think the question is about how can students access recruiters directly, that really depends. Some organizations will put the contact information of the folks that are hiring and the recruiters, which will then put you in contact directly with them. Sometimes they don't, and sometimes they don't do that because maybe they're receiving hundreds of applications and they don't want to put their information out there just for everyone to contact them directly with the questions. They would rather that folks that are interested in an opportunity would just apply online and apply directly through some type of a general website. But one thing you can do to get around that also is using LinkedIn as a great friend and a great tool to find perhaps a recruiter that does work at an organization that you're applying to, and maybe linking up with someone there to answer those questions is a great way to do that. You could also always work with us at the Career Centers. Folks at the Career Center are oftentimes connected to a lot of people at a lot of different organizations. So we could maybe help you find someone, whether it be an alum or a recruiter that we're working with, that we can connect you with. I hope that that helps answer your question. So someone asked a question here. In order to do good in society, we need to do well. How do we do well? Well, I think if we go back to the first couple of slides of doing well, right? Depending what you mean by do well. So if you're saying, look, in order for me to do good, I need to personally be okay financially, right? I need to be doing well in my own career. And so I think it starts already with what you're doing now. I always tell students, if you're here right now, it's because you already made the first step for something. You've decided that you're taking a course because you want to better your career. Perhaps you're enrolled in order to transfer to a 4-year. For whatever reason, you're here and you're enrolled in courses. So you've already made a great step towards doing that. So in terms of how do you do well, that's going to depend on your individual career goal, right? It's going to be setting yourself up for the type of job that you want. So it really depends on the kind of career that you want. If you decide, that you want to start your own business and do well that way, I mean, that is a way to do well. But it is a very good point. In order for you to help others, so oftentimes you need to make sure that you're in a place, right, where you're doing well, so that you're healthy, you're strong enough, and you're motivated to go out and do well. But that's something we would love to individually be able to sit down with you and anyone else who says, how could I do well in whatever my degree is, whatever my major is, whatever I want to get into. How can I put a plan together so I make sure that I am doing well at some point? Someone asked, is it necessary to upgrade to LinkedIn Professional? That's a good question. You know what? Some people do. I've had both LinkedIn Professional and then at times when I haven't. I am not a proponent of paying the extra $400-500 a year for LinkedIn Professional. All it really does is gives you access to directly message someone, which you cannot right now. But what you can do is you can still send them a request, right, to connect with someone on LinkedIn and personalize the request, right? You can add a note there so someone reads it. And then once they link in with you, then you can send yourself a direct message back and forth. Other than that, I don't really see, to be honest with you, the big gain in paying for a LinkedIn Professional account. I know we have LinkedIn workshops at the Freeman Center, so I would highly recommend joining one of those at some point, so that way we can further talk about LinkedIn. And someone asked me, how did I choose to be where I'm at? PCC, Jason, boy, I could talk for 20 minutes about that, so I'm not going to bore everyone with my entire story. But I can tell you, I've been in higher education for 15 years. I've been at other colleges before. I've worked at, most recently at Otis College of Art and Design, where I was the head of their career services. I've worked at Occidental College, not too far down in Eagle Rock. I've worked at the Claremont colleges, at Claremont Graduate University with graduate students. And I've enjoyed every bit of it. And I think at a very early age, I really enjoyed the idea of helping people find work and meaningful work and working with companies and connecting all that together. And it just kind of led to a career in career counseling, quite honestly. Started out as a career advisor, very entry level at an early age, and then moved my way up to different positions as assistant director and now director and those kinds of things. So I hope that helps answer that question. I'd be lying if I said I took advantage of my career center when I was at Cal State Fullerton, although I did visit a couple of times. And so I regret I didn't, because there were some other things too that I think I wish I would have done in order to get myself better prepared. So I highly recommend you visit us. So I know we're at 12:46, so if you have to hop off, by all means, feel free to do so. Please don't forget to take the survey that's in the chat. Follow us. If you want to make an appointment with any one of us at the Freeman Center, you would go to just go to the PCC website. On the search engine, just type in Freeman Center or type in Career Services. You will then get our page with the Freeman Center webpage. I would pull that up right now, but I feel like I've been taking you guys back and forth a lot. But just go to or you can Google PCC Freeman Career or Freeman Career. You'll find us, and you can make an appointment on the first page there. It'll tell you different ways that you can connect with us. And we also have a workshops and event page on our website as well. If you click on that, that's always up to date. We have workshops going on this week and next week. Anything from resume writing to job search. I'm hosting one next week on the job search process. So if you've seen one, job search strategies, that's me. You can jump on that one. And then we actually talk a little bit about LinkedIn, and you'll see the whole carousel of workshops on our event page. So thank you. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. So have a good day, everybody. I hope when we get back to campus, I get to meet you all. If not, you all have my email. You know how to connect with us, and hope you enjoyed the session. So have a good rest of your conference.